Welcome in, folks. This is JE Live, and we're back here once again. The Rams fall again. A lot of losses this season. Definitely, I think I'm in the same boat as you guys. Kind of like, hey, wouldn't mind if this season ended. Like, it's hard to watch. But hey, you know what? Today, Bryce Perkins went out there with really not a lot around him on the offensive line. Was pressured constantly, went 13 of 23 for 100 yards, 4.3 average, which isn't great, but he threw a touchdown. He had a fluke interception off a tip pass, and then he had a bad interception. Was only sacked 3 times. The stats are never going to really be in anybody's favor in that sense, but I got to say, I was impressed with the fact, he showed his escapability. He showed his heart. This team fought hard. I mean, let's be honest here. This is a 26-10 loss, but in reality, they were in the game the majority of the game. And that's why I've actually come to push back against people who say this is the worst team in the league, because if you haven't been paying attention, Houston's not very good, okay? Houston can't even stay in games. They get blown out. The Rams stay in games, okay? This defense, as much as you want to say, okay, whatever, bend, don't break, all that, this defense kept them in this game. Multiple, red zone stops. I mean, I was really impressed with the way that they were able to play in the red zone. They held Kansas City. Kansas City was 1 of 6 in the red zone. Defense gave everything they could to this game. Yes, was I critical of them? Of course. I mean, I was critical of the missed tackles. I was critical of Taylor Rapp. I was critical of Nick Scott. I was critical of David Long. I've already said I think their defense is a lot of fun up the front 7, front 8. But when you get into the secondary, I think it's Jalen Ramsey and a bunch of guys that you can replace. I don't know why Jacoby Durant didn't play. I don't know why Russ East didn't play. I don't know why Quentin Lake didn't play. I don't know why Robert Rochelle went to starting some games in relief last year on a Super Bowl winning roster to then, okay, yeah, we're not going to play him. He's predominantly special teams. It's very odd. I'm not really okay with it. I think he's a talented player that's just not getting, enough of a chance. So I definitely have, issues with that. And apparently I'm reading now in the comment section that Allen Robinson is out for the season. So chalk that up to my worst take maybe ever, saying that he'd lead the league in receiving yards. I'll be honest with you guys. I thought coming into the season he was going to have a really good year. I don't think they utilized him the right way, and I think he suffered because of it. Finishes the season 33 catches, 339 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Just not a great, showing there. Bryce Perkins in this game, talking about this game for a sec, Perkins ran 9 times for 44 yards. Good, running there from him. Cam Akers got involved early on, but we didn't really see a ton of him after that. He had 8 carries for 37 yards. That's a 4.6 yards per carry average. Pretty solid there. Kyren Williams took 11 carries for 35. He averaged 3.2. I will say this, I felt like Kyren Williams didn't run as well as he could have. I think he was put in kind of some positions there early on where, they're not, they're running out of the shotgun. And I think this is somebody you want to run, single back set, take handoffs and whatnot. Jefferson was their leading receiver with 29 yards and a touchdown. Kyren Williams added 3 catches as well as Van Jefferson. Tutu Atwell had some huge catches. Huge 4th down conversion went to Tutu Atwell. Got to get him involved more. Bryson Hopkins had a nice, conversion at the end of the game. Jacob Harris caught a conversion on a fake punt. Still haven't seen Lance McCutcheon come down with his first NFL catch, so we're waiting for that. Robert Rochelle recovered a fumble. You had Taylor Rapp lead the team in tackles with 12. Ernest Jones with 11. You had no sacks. They kept, Patrick Mahomes somewhat upright. A lot of pressure, but no sacks. Pass breakups, you had 3, Nick Scott, Jalen Ramsey, and Bobby Wagner. 2 hits on the quarterback, Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones. And at the end of the day, I thought, Nick Scott coming with the interception was a huge moment, turning point in the game. They had a huge opportunity, and then they gave it right back. That was really upsetting. They gave it, I think this team really gave it their all. I did not feel like they mailed it in. They fought hard. Injury-riddled roster. I was very impressed with the way I see in the comment section. I thought Hoyt played well. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I thought he got some pressure off the edge. They tried, mixing and matching, doing some different things. I didn't really see Terrell Lewis in there that much. So, if at all, I don't remember seeing him. Bobby Brown got in at the very end of the game. Marquise Copeland, I think he moves very well for his size. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a frustrating season. It's hard to find a lot of, positives out of this game, but it was somewhat entertaining and exciting, and it did give you some hope, which it was a fun game for people that thought this was going to be a 60-0 blowout. Never thought that, by the way. I was a little annoyed that the Chiefs had to cover because the Rams definitely had that there. Did win myself $100 betting on Kyron Williams to go over 26.5 rushing yards. That I had to sweat out, but ended up working out. Patrick Mahomes didn't really play all that well. Wasn't really impressed with Mahomes. He was pressured. He had 320 yards. Sure, the bend don't break defense gave up a lot of yards, but they were absolutely locked down tough in the red zone. 1 of 6 Kansas City converted. 1 of 6. That's saying a lot. Was really impressed with Pacheco, although the Rams did a nice job once again, on the ground, the run defense department. 22 carries, 69 yards for Pacheco. He got a touchdown, but only 3.1 yards per carry. And I was just impressed with the way, he explodes off the screen. You know what I mean? So Mahomes got going early on with the running, had 4 carries for 36 yards. They got Ronald Jones involved on the ground. But at the end of the day, I just don't think the Rams defense, there are some issues, but I was really impressed with how stout they were in the red zone. I could not have asked for a better performance from them, considering, 1 of 6 in the red zone. The offense really needed to pick up the pace. And I think they fell victim to the fact that Sean McVay really babied, in my opinion, he really babied Perkins from the get-go. He kind of changed up a little bit, but I thought it was a little too late. You want to get that guy the confidence early on and build off it. At the end of the day, the Rams lose 26-10. They're 3-8 in the division. The season's over. And now now the season's really over. I mean, you would have to win every game the rest of the year. And, it's just not very likely. And you would need a lot of help even if you did that. I agree. The play calling in the first half was way too conservative. Totally agree with that. I thought they picked up the pace. I just thought they did a little too late. But hey, the Rams definitely had a chance to win this game. Now, I've seen a lot of flack going towards Perkins, okay? I've seen a lot saying that he's not an NFL quarterback. He's not a guy that we need to continue with. Move on from him. Start Cookus. First off, Cookus doesn't know the playbook, so you're not going to start him. That just doesn't even make any sense. It's not even a valid, suggestion. It's not realistic. So Cookus is not going to start. Stafford should be shut down the rest of the year. The best they can go is 9-8, and they need a bevy of teams to lose and things to go their way in order to make the playoffs. It's not happening. Okay. They're not making the playoffs. Unfortunately, today they really need to win this game. As crazy as it sounds, they really needed to win this game, and they did not do that. They lost 26-10. Some will call it a blowout. I'll say it was an exciting game where I thought the Rams were in it almost the entire way. The team stats, the Chiefs dominated, right? They, at the end of the day, 29 first downs to 13. Okay. So you had that. You had 3 first downs from penalties for the Chiefs. I really thought the officiating was god awful in this game. You don't really see it as much with the penalties, but I felt like the penalties that they didn't call and the ones that they did were just bad. They missed a face mask at the end of the game to Kyron Williams, whatever. Maybe a delay a game at the end of the game, whatever. But I'm talking about the blatant hold on the deep ball that Patrick Mahomes had. And then on that later on in that drive, they called the face mask on the third down sack, which was just awful. I mean, I understand it's a face mask. You have to call it. But if you're going to miss the blatant hold, you can't be making that. You got to hit both of them. And so, I wasn't a big fan of the officiating. The Rams were 3 for 3 on fourth down conversions. You love to see it. They had 2 regular conversions, and then they had a fake punt. Riley Dixon was huge today. He had a really nice coffin corner punt. Matt Gay was also pretty big today. Rams forced 2 turnovers. The Chiefs forced 2 turnovers. Unfortunately, the turnovers were the backbreaker in this one. The Rams actually, based on yards, ran better than the Chiefs. 4.1 yards per carry to the Chiefs 3.9. The Chiefs ran the ball 30 times. The Rams ran the ball 28 times. Obviously, Perkins, quarterback, not really carrying the ball, right? Like more just scrambling. But the Rams threw it a total of 24 times. Chiefs threw it 42. At the end of the day, you look at, how this thing went down, and, the Rams ran the ball 19 times with running backs. We've been waiting for them to run the ball more with the running back. Thought they could have done a little bit more and a little bit less out of the shotgun. I haven't been seeing a lot of toss crack plays that were working with Henderson early on in the year. They ran one with Akers. He got 4, and then they didn't go back to it. Feel like I want to see more Kyron Williams in that, opportunity. Not where he has to kind of, go lateral, but a guy that he just gets the ball, he reads the blocks, and he just goes straight. But 19 carries is not awful. They didn't run the ball extremely well with the running backs. Perkins definitely helps their yards per carry average. But at the end of the day, this team did what they could with what they have. I mean, Sean McVay did what he could with what he has. There were issues I had. There were complaints I had during the game. You can be picky all you want. At the end of the day, what are you going to do when Bryce Perkins is your starting quarterback? You have all of your receivers out, like your top 2 receivers out. You have Tyler Higbee clearly is not fully healthy. I mean, he's pretty banged up. He didn't get a target in this game. Then you look at the defense, and I mean, that secondary is just not very good. Your offensive line is down to 4th and 5th string starters. I mean, it was just brutal. It really was. And the fact that they were able to put up 10 points and stay in this game, the majority of the game, spoke a lot to the heart that this team still has, despite the fact this team was 3-7 going into this game, going up against a team that I think is probably going to win the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs should be the Super Bowl favorite. They did not play their best game today, but I don't think you can discredit what the Rams did, the things they did to disrupt Patrick Mahomes. I had some issues with the lack of contain on the other side, the right side of the line, but aside from that, I thought they did a nice job, putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They left guys open. They did. The bend don't break, but it did end up working out pretty well when push came to shove in the red zone. They only gave up a touchdown once out of 6 tries. So, all in all, I wish it was different. I feel for you guys. I mean, no one's going to feel sorry for us because, I mean, I'm covering, and obviously I'm a fan, but I'm covering a team that just won the Super Bowl this calendar year. Like, they still, this calendar year, won the Super Bowl. And that will be the case up until, the next time they play the Chargers on New Year's. So the Rams will literally have won the Super Bowl the calendar year the next 4 games. So, I mean, it's something that's crazy, but right now it's a different team. It just is. The coaching staff different. I think we talk so much about Kevin O'Connell and losing him and how big of a loss he was, and not enough about Ejiro Evero. I think he was a huge loss there. And, I just think eventually what doesn't get brought up enough is when you lose all these coaches and it's just constantly like you keep churning out coaches and everything. Eventually the players are losing, that connection with coaches. Now they're going to have to start all over. All the progress they made with their previous coach, now that gets reset. And so, I understand why one would think, okay, maybe it's not that big of a deal. I think it's a bigger deal than people think. Next week, the Rams play the Seattle Seahawks at SoFi. And then they, go on a short week. And on Thursday Night Football on Prime Video, they will play the Las Vegas Raiders at SoFi. After that, they get a long break and they play on Monday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. After that, they play on Christmas Day, CBS, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. They'll be going up against the Broncos on Sunday, that Christmas Day. And then after that, they have a primetime game on NBC. Have to imagine that primetime game, the Rams-Chargers, that's going to get flexed out. That is the second to last week of the year. I can't see them playing that primetime game. I don't think you can flex out. You can't flex out Monday night. I don't know if you can flex out Thursday night, but you're definitely going to be flexing out that primetime game, the second to last game of the year. And then Sunday, January 8th, the Rams play the Seattle Seahawks, finale in Seattle. That game has a lot of weight for Seattle. That could be potentially to close out the division. They're looking good, and I don't know how the game went, as far as the Seahawks and Raiders. I don't know if they lost that game. Oh, it looks like they lost. So that's going to be important. They got another game against the 49ers. The 49ers have the tiebreaker. They now own the division right now. Seattle is going to need to win some tough games. They got the Chiefs, they got the Niners, they got the Rams twice, and then they got the Jets. The Rams twice isn't hard, but it is a division matchup. So, man, just a tough year, I don't take anything I do for granted. I don't take this live stream. I don't take any of these, the audience, over 200 people live right now, following a game where the season's over and people knew it. And a lot of people didn't even watch this game because they knew it would be bad. So I really do appreciate people that are tuned in right now and are giving me that viewership and are supporting the channel. It has been a very tough year. No doubt about it. I know I cover the Jets and the Jets are having a good year, but the Rams are my team. Let's not mistake it. I got the Jets helmet there. I like the Jets. I want them to do well. And obviously I enjoy covering them and tweeting about them and all that. But when they win, it is not the same as when the Rams win. So it is, it's frustrating to see this season 3-8. No one could have expected this. Even the most pessimistic people, if they told you, oh yeah, I saw this coming. No, they didn't. This has been bad. And it hasn't been just the injuries. It's just a foundational thing right now. I think it's something they can figure out next year because they've been in a lot of the games. Even though they lose, they've been in a lot of the games. And I think there are more things that are correctable and quicker to correct than people are giving it credit for. I think, genuinely speaking, when you have a season like this, the first course of action is to be negative and just to be like, oh, this team is going nowhere, it's over, yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily agree with that. To say that they're done next year before we've even seen what they've done in the offseason, I just don't think it's very fair. We got to see how they react. We got to see what they do. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is that, this is going to be a transformative offseason. You can stick with this channel all throughout. You're going to get all sorts of coverage. It'll be draft content. It'll be free agent content. We're going to have that NFL show I'm telling you about. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming. I've seen people asking if I'm going to do a mock off season. I do it every year. So absolutely, I will do a mock off season. I'll do mock drafts. We'll have 2 podcasts, the DTR podcast, Downtown Rams, and Believe in Rams, going constantly. So there's going to be, there's going to be a lot of content. I'm not going to stop because I think, I see it anyway from the Niners fans. Not every Niners fan, but I see it from some Niners fans. They look at me and they're like, oh, he's a Jets-Rams YouTuber. He's just going to stop covering the Rams and go to the Jets now that they're winning. That's not why I chose the Jets. As most of you know, I started, covering the Jets. I decided to do it before the season started. So, no, I did not see the Rams having a 3-8 season. This is beyond anything I could have imagined, and it is the absolute worst of the worst. It is the worst-case scenario nightmare, but I think they're back next year. They're going to have, by all accounts, they're going to have the worst schedule. The last place schedule. They're still going to have. I think Stafford's going to stay. I could see him retiring, no doubt. I could, but I think he's going to stay. I don't know if I get the vibe that he's going to retire lately, but I heard that it is real and it's something that could be mulled over the offseason. But if he doesn't retire, there's no reason to expect this team to just be as bad as they are this year. There's no reason to expect this team to not make the playoffs next year, to be honest with you. This was a bad year, folks. This was just a bad year. Things did not go the Rams' way. You talk about every bounce going a certain team's way. It wasn't the Rams. You watch the Niners game, and I mean, there's a goal line fumble, unforced error by the Saints. They end up winning the game 13-0. The Saints were in the red zone multiple times, could not score. And then you talk about the tip ball on 4th down or whatever, and it's like Chris Harris Jr. tips it, goes right into the arms of the 49er player. We saw the fumble that went right in the arms of the 49er guy that was literally laying on his back. I mean, the Rams are the opposite of that. They're not getting every bounce. They're doing quite the opposite. It's just not their year. I know that's not the most professional answer. That's not the professional explanation as to why they're so bad. But sometimes it's just not your year. This feels very similar to 2019, but it's way worse. And, I think at the end of the day, when you look at the fact that the Rams still have key foundational pieces, they still have really good coaches, they still have an organization that is willing to spend and go out and get players, they can figure this out. Now, they are going to be tested, though, in the draft because we've talked about before, Agnew is out and, Brad Holmes is out. So now the drafts are going to start coming down to new personnel. Maybe you focus more on the scouts perspective like they did with Bruss. I don't know where they go from here, but they have to hit on this upcoming draft. They have to hit big time. They can't be picky either. They can't have a guy like John Franklin Myers where he plays really well in his first year as a 4th rounder and then you cut bait the next year. They can't afford to do that. So they're going to have to draft well. They're going to have to pick who they really need back. You look at Greg Gaines. If you can get him back, I think it would be pretty awesome to get him back. David Edwards, I'm a little cautious about. Is he going to be cheap? Is he going to be expensive? He's dealing with multiple concussions. I don't know. Taylor Rapp, gone. Nick Scott, probably gone. So there are guys that you have to decide. Matt Gay, 100% is coming back. No doubt about it. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this team is orchestrated next year, who stays and who goes. Normally when you have this type of season, things can really change. Like, you can overreact to something like this. And I'm not saying necessarily changing anything is overreacting, and it's a completely different sport, but a good example of overreacting, in my opinion, was when the Lakers were just battered with injuries. They lost to the Suns, who were a better team, better built, and they were banged up. The Suns weren't. So they lose to the Suns, and then the next year they go out of their way. They trade this guy away. They trade this guy away, and now they don't have the bench that they had that made them the NBA title, champions, right? So that's a thing where you got to be careful. You got to find that balance. You got to find that perfect balance where the Rams aren't just getting rid of guys to get rid of them. They have to find the right balance because there are guys on this roster, just because they've struggled a little bit doesn't mean that they shouldn't be on the roster next year. I mean, you could go through it. First off, nobody in the quarterback room has done enough to not be back. I mean, you could bring back John Wolford. I don't think they will. I think it'll be Stafford and Perkins, and maybe they draft a guy. If Stafford retires, it's a completely different story. Running backs, you got Cam Akers and Kyron Williams. I think Williams takes over. Cam is probably the backup. They draft a running back or they sign one. But you have some pieces there, in the running back room. Then wide receivers, you got Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell and Jacob Harris and like all these guys that you drafted and you want to give an opportunity to. I'm not looking to cut bait on them, right? So, then you look at the tight ends. You already have Higbee signed. You have Bryson Hopkins. What are you going to do with that? I think they add another tight end there. Offensive line is going to be interesting because here's the thing. They could look at it completely different with the offensive line. They have, on paper, a fully healthy offensive line. They have a top, half of the league offensive line. Is that great? No. But fully healthy, they, probably win more games than what they've had. So that's the decision that the Rams have to make, is that if Noteboom comes back and he's good, are you go with him at left tackle? Alaric Jackson with the blood clots, when he comes back next year, you go with him at left tackle. And Secchi is not an option. He's going to be 39 next year. Like, he's not an option. So those two you talk about there. And then if neither of those two are your tackles, or, Arcuri is not a guy you want to, actually throw out there as your starting left tackle next year, then maybe that's your first pick in the second round. You go and you pick up your left tackle of the future. And at that point, maybe you look to exploring the idea of moving any of those guys I just mentioned to left guard, because David Edwards will be a free agent with concussion issues, which is not necessarily a guarantee he'll be back. Then you have Brian Allen, who's signed for a 3-year deal. He's under contract. You have Coleman Shelton, who signed for a 2-year deal. He's under contract. So you're good there, unless you want to change your philosophy. You want to get more of a mauler up front on the center, at the center spot. Then, okay, fine. Those two can also play guard. They also have the guys I mentioned. Tremaine Ankrum is a guy that they like. He's been around. We'll see what happens with him. Chandler Brewer was playing well. He got hurt. We'll see what ends up happening with him. So there are guys, Logan Bruss as well. And then you have Havenstein, who's rock solid, signed long-term. He's at right tackle. So that is that with, as far as the offensive line goes. Then you look at the defensive line. Aaron Donald's not retiring unless something major happens. If Stafford were to retire and they didn't have a plan and they brought in like a Mitch Trubisky type of quarterback or started Bryce Perkins, Aaron Donald's out the door or requesting a trade to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's my prediction there. If that happened, that wouldn't happen though, because the Rams aren't going to have, they're not going to have Sean McVay not have a plan of attack. So they will know what they're doing. I don't think Stafford's going to retire at this moment. My mind could change. I definitely have heard it's real. And it's just something to keep in mind. It's something to, definitely keep an eye on. We'll see what ends up happening. As of right now, I anticipate he'll be back next year. So you have Donald, right? Then Gaines is a free agent. Do you bring him back? Is he worth the money? Is he going to get overpaid? I think so. So, this is a good player, but is he worth keeping? And then you saw Bobby Brown in at the end of that game, on the tackle, the last tackle of the game there. He's somebody they like, obviously a 4th rounder, very talented, very athletic, really hasn't gotten a shot. Are they going to give him more opportunities? Marquise Copeland has looked good. Ashawn Robinson is going to have to get, surgery to repair his meniscus tear. So that's not like a guarantee there. And he's a free agent. So you might be able to get back Ashawn Robinson at a cheaper value, but he's still injured and he might miss the beginning of next year. Greg Gaines, I'm assuming, is probably gone because I think there's going to be a team that wants to pay him a lot of money. He's very good, at playing the interior. So then you look in the draft. Do you go and you grab anybody? Do you go and grab anybody off of free agency? I'm sure there's guys out there, Linebacker, I feel like you're good. Bobby Wagner signed long-term. You got Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones will play out his rookie deal, and then maybe they'll bring him back. Maybe they'll let him go. Who knows? But you're good there. Maybe add some depth on the linebackers. I don't know, but I feel good about the starters. This is where the Rams, ironically speaking, because I know the offensive line is so bad right now, but the problem with that is that the offensive line, when fully healthy, wouldn't be that bad. The secondary is fully healthy right now, and aside from Jordan Fuller, and I'm not all that big on him. I'm not all that big on their secondary right now. Ramsey took a step back this year, but was it because of Ramsey or was it because of the guys around him? Troy Hill is not Troy Hill of 2020. Taylor Rapp really struggled this year. Jordan Fuller was already starting to kind of come off a little bit, I thought, and then he got the injury, and then I wasn't really overly impressed with his comeback this year. I know he went through a lot. I'm rooting for him. Haven't been overly impressed. Then you look at Nick Scott, probably not bringing him back unless he's cheap, and he hasn't been great. He had a very good run in the playoffs and was great in the playoffs. And I think we kind of jumped the gun a little bit, calling him like a star or, overrating him a little bit. He's not quite there. So really, it's Jalen Ramsey, who I get excited about because it's Jalen Ramsey. Then you have Jacoby Durant, who had a great game against the Falcons, and we never saw him again on the defensive side. And Robert Rochelle. I mean, this guy has unbelievable testing numbers. He was raw last year and played, and now he's playing, special teams. I don't know. So I think the Rams will target secondary as well, and I hope they do. Russ East, Quentin Lake should have started this game. They should be playing moving forward. No doubt about it. There's no need to even, question it. They should be starting all of their young guys. So at the end of the day, I don't think the Rams have to make a ton of player adjustments. I think that they had a season where they're able to kind of look through it and realize, okay, this is a weakness, this is a weakness, and this is a weakness. And I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that. The season sucks. I'm not going to hold that back, but maybe it's better. Maybe it's better they had this season now, so then they can really start to, build, learn from this, and make sure that they fortify their team to make sure they're never in this position again. And that's how I look at it. So I think that's what I'll say about that. I think that there's going to be changes. Things are going to definitely change for sure, but I don't think it's going to be a catastrophic thing. I don't think this team is truly melting down. They played way too hard today with not a lot of help and a lot of injuries all around. They played way too hard today to say that this team is mailing it in. This team's giving up. This is the beginning of the end. I just don't believe that. If this was the beginning of the end, I would tell you. Like, I was saying, if this team came out and just got their shit rocked and Kansas City won by 44 or whatever, okay, you have an argument. Bryce Perkins, it doesn't even look like he's trying. The offensive line doesn't look like they're trying. The defense is just, they're getting absolutely hammered. Okay, but the defense, they gave up yards, but the bend don't break worked. You held the best offense by far in the league to 26 points. Okay. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. They had over 400 yards of total offense and they only got 26 points out of it. You would take that if Stafford started this game. So that's where we stand right now. I think the Rams have obviously a lot to evaluate. I think there's going to be some changes. Probably some coaching changes, maybe some front office changes, scouting department changes. Things change when you lose. So don't think that no one's getting fired or no one's getting cut or no one's, they're not moving on from they are going to be doing that. But it's not going to be the big, mass firing that some people are saying. Raheem doesn't need to be let go because I see that all over this feed. Raheem Morris is not an issue, okay? Raheem Morris runs what he's told to run because Sean McVay wanted more of the defense. He wanted to be in control of more of the defense. So Raheem Morris is simply just running what Brandon Staley put in place. That's what he's running. He's running that defense. Raheem Morris is not the issue. The players are the issue. Because if you look, is it Raheem Morris's fault on a 3rd and long where, Taylor Rapp botches a tackle and the guy picks up the first down? How is that Raheem Morris's fault? And then last week, the guys were out of position. I feel like Raheem's scheme works. I just feel like at the end of the day, you need better players to run it. And David Long struggles, okay? Rapp struggles. You can't have these guys that can't tackle. If you can't tackle running this bend don't break defense, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, end of the day, this is what I do, okay? I identify whether or not I need a left tackle in the future. If I do, then I'm looking at him in the 2nd or 3rd round on day 2, okay? That's the first thing. Second thing, okay? because this is just assuming Stafford's already like good to go and he'll be back next year, all that, whatever. The defense. I'm making sure that I know who my starting interior is going to be. If A'Shawn Robinson becomes a cheap free agent because of this injury and no one wants him, I'm scooping him up and I'll keep him on the IR or PUP list or whatever. Greg Gaines, I'm making an offer to. If it's, if I get outbid, I'm not going crazy. I'm not going to bankrupt my team, but I do want Greg Gaines back. The linebackers I feel good about, maybe adding a depth piece, whatever. But make no mistake about it. I want a pass rusher for sure. I'm looking in the second and third round for a pass rusher, for a left tackle potentially, and for a safety / corner. That's what I'm looking at. Okay. I feel like if they had a game-breaking safety, like a Bobby Wagner type of guy at safety, this team would be in very good shape. So that's where I'm at. I'll have a mock draft soon. The season's over now, so I can really focus on it. There's always a little bit of like, maybe if they do this and they didn't do it, so now I can move on. So that's how I feel about that. And I'm just going to answer some questions here that I got. I know I got some. The donations show up like on my chat revenue, like it shows up on my dashboard, but I haven't been seeing it lately. So I apologize. If you sent a donation, I did not see it. I'm going to try and find it, but let's see. I'm going to be doing something like that. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Jets looked very good with Mike White. That's all they needed. A guy that just can be accurate when needed, can hit the throws, a point and shoot quarterback. They don't need a guy that, dominates the game. They don't need a guy they have to play through. They don't need a guy to carry them. They need a guy that's going to be able to not make mistakes, limit turnovers, but at the end of the day, be able to make the slam dunk throws, the layup throws. And that was the thing. Wilson was missing the layup throws, and it was killing this team. Melonbot007, thank you for donating. Allen Robinson now for the season. I saw that. Really annoyed there. Just a tough couple years for him, man. Tough couple years. I feel for him. It's definitely, that just has to suck. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what you expect, this team is banged up to all hell. They gave it their all. They actually played with a lot of heart. They were in this game for the majority of the time in one of the most hostile environments ever created for sports at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm not going to call it whatever their naming rights are. Not calling it that. It's Arrowhead. They played at Arrowhead Stadium with a quarterback that had never started an NFL game before. Okay. Making his debut, hostile environment against a Super Bowl caliber team. And they lost 26-10 in a game where I constantly felt like they were somewhat in it. Going into the fourth quarter, I still felt like they had a shot. I wasn't saying they're going to win, but they were in the game. So am I okay with the loss at this point? Yeah, I think I am, because this is the reality. The whole it's not acceptable thing is out the window, because it's not acceptable to be in this position, but now you're in this position, you got to adapt. You got to change, your expectations accordingly. Hell, do I want them to be 8-3 more than 3-8? Absolutely. But that's where we're at. They're 3-8. At this point, I want to see some improvement. I want to see the young guys playing. I want to see things that you can build off of for next year. I'm very much ready for next year. Very much ready for next year. I sat there, and at the end of that game, I was just like, man, I'm ready for 2023. Like, I haven't said that all year, and this hit me. I was just like, man, like, I'm ready for 2023. That interception was so painful, the first one. To get that turnover, and now all of a sudden you're in the driver's seat to flip the game over, and it just so painful, man. In case you guys, because I know some of you probably didn't watch the game, and that's fine. I'm not hating on it. I'm just, pointing it out. When the Rams got the interception at the goal line, Nick Scott, because it was the failed Patrick Mahomes was trying to do a Matthew Stafford no-look pass, Matthew Stafford impression, and he failed. He threw an interception to Nick Scott. The Rams at this point in the game, okay, it is the fourth quarter. It's the fourth quarter, and the Rams get the ball. They get the turnover, and since it was in the end zone, it's a touchback. So they get the ball at the 20, down 20-10 with 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. They run the ball once with Kyron Williams for 4 yards, and then Bryce Perkins throws an interception that was just not very good. I wanted to see him go deep down the field. They didn't take one shot play. If he threw that pick on a shot play to, deep down the field to Atwell, that would have been a little bit better, but that was painful. So that was the thing. That interception, that's when you knew the game was over. That was a huge opportunity. This is what I'm talking about. With 8:50 left to go in the game, the Rams were down by 10 to a team that's probably going to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, a team that was on the road, at home, in front of the most hostile crowd that works in their favor at Arrowhead Stadium. Really tough place to play in the cold where they're used to against a warm weather team. And they were down by 10. They had a shot. They had a shot to go down the field and at least kick a field goal and make it a one possession game with about 5 minutes to go, with a chance to get a stop and then maybe tie the game. That's the thing. That's why, I'm not sitting here scolding this team. During the game, I was frustrated. I was frustrated with Ramsey getting absolutely torched by Travis Kelce. I was frustrated with Taylor Rapp missing a tackle on third down. That would have been huge. I was frustrated with the fact Nick Scott instead wrapped up the guy and tackled him instead of, basically jumping the route and picking that ball off that was in the air forever. I was upset with the fact that there were miscues. But at the end of the day, the Rams had a chance with 8:50 to go in the game. And that I can feel good about, because this is where I have to push back. Going back to the beginning of this live stream, in case you missed it, there are people that will say that this is the worst team in football, and I will say they absolutely are not the worst team in football. Watch the Houston Texans, okay? Watch teams like that. I don't think the worst team in football would be in every single game into the fourth quarter except for a couple on their schedule. I mean, if you don't believe me, let's go through right now, okay? Let's just go down memory lane, right? They lose a one possession game, 27-20 to the Saints. With 8:50 to go, they're down by 10 to the Chiefs. The Cardinals here, they lost 27-17. Let's see, was that game close? That game was a 17-10 ball game, just under 12 minutes to go in that one. So in the fourth quarter, that was a 17-10 ball game with 12:44 left to go. So once again, they kept that close. The Rams dominated the Buccaneers. That game they should have won by way more. They kept them in it. They led the entire game, and then they blew it at the very end, the last play of the game. The 49ers game, the 31-14, is probably the only one that really wasn't close. Although going into the fourth quarter here, the Rams were down by 3. So the Rams were down by 3 in that game. And then the Panthers game, they win 24-10. They lose to Dallas 22-10 in a game where they held Cooper Rush to 100 yards passing. The Rams in this game, okay, they were down 16-10 going into halftime. That is painful. That's painful. And when you look at it, 16-10 going into halftime, it was 19-10 until the fourth quarter. 19-10. So then, okay, we look at the 49er game. And the 49er game, everyone seems to forget because it ended up being 24-9. But the 49er game was 9-17, and the Rams were moving the ball. The Niners missed a field goal. The Rams are moving down the field, and then they throw a pick, and it goes. It's a pick 6 to Hufanga, and that's that. 24-9. But it was a 9-17 game where if they score and they get a 2-point conversion, they tie it up. And then on top of that, you look at the Rams beating the Cardinals 20-12. You beat the Falcons 31-27. And the Bills game, this still bothers me to this day, is that game at the in the fourth quarter, that game is a 1-possession 17-10 game. So yes, they've been in every single game. So no, I don't think they're the worst team. I don't think they should be the record that they're at 3-8, but they are. So this is the thing. If you take anything away from this live stream, just know the Rams played tough as hell tonight in a game that they weren't expected to win, in a game that they were literally underdogs by 15.5 points, in a game where they were starting a quarterback who had never taken any snaps under center to start as a starter in the NFL in a hostile environment. And furthermore, this is a team that all year has shown you that even though they haven't played their best football at any point, okay, even though this offense has been abysmal, this team has been in every game. Every game. The Bills, the 49ers twice, the Chiefs, they've been in every single game down to the last quarter, just about. So, yeah, I'm a little optimistic about next year. Didn't go their way this year. Reminds me of the Ravens last year. Ravens had injuries every which way. They lost their quarterback at the end of the year, Lamar Jackson. I mean, they missed the playoffs, and they were definitely, going into this season, they were one of the favorites to win the AFC. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for being optimistic, but I am. I think they'll figure it out. I have confidence in that. I'm excited for that opportunity to cover it because, I think it'll give them an opportunity to really, like I said, fortify their roster. They'll be able to dig into things that they maybe in the past kind of just gave them a pass. They'll be able to dig into that now that they are probably going to have a losing record, and they're going to be able to tackle it head on. And I'm excited for that. That'll make them, more eligible to have that sustained success. So I don't know, man. That's where I'm at. I don't know. We're going to have a lot. Trust me, we're going to have a lot of content. Really excited about this opportunity. I wish it was here. I wish, unfortunately we still have more games, but that's just the way it is. So we'll see. This team will get healthier. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you would. I'm at 52 likes. We have 182 people in here, which I very much appreciate because we're now running into the late night game. So really do appreciate that. Just be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me if you would. And subscribe because we're going to be doing this a lot. I'll have a Jets video for you tomorrow. For any of you that were asking about Jets content, we're going to be talking a little bit about Mike White, why I believe that, this team has a chance to run the table. The rest of the year, they can beat the Bills, they can beat the Vikings. And I'm going to explain why I believe that there's a chance that they won't, and I'll talk about it. But, that's what we'll do. A lot of stuff talking on this channel. We got some gaming content that's been going on. I've been enjoying that. We've got the Jets content. They'll be pushing for a playoff berth, which will be exciting for the channel. Got the Rams content, which of course with the Rams, that's going to be geared towards the offseason, looking at the draft and free agency and all of that. So a lot of different stuff to cover, and I'm excited to be able to do that. So unfortunately, wish I was coming to you with a win. We did a lot of winning themes for the JE Lives last year. A lot of different winning ones that, it's I don't know. It's painful to lose, but man, we were so spoiled last season. Just did so many of these winning edition podcasts and live streams, and was able to do a freaking live stream of my favorite non-Ram becoming a Ram and Odell Beckham Jr. Was able to do a live stream about Von Miller, just be able to share in that joy and that excitement and that surprise with you guys and react. And it just, that hasn't been this year. We didn't get anything as far as the trade deadline. They didn't really get much of a win streak going. So at the end of the day, look, it's not what we would have loved. It's not how we would have written the story. It's not what we wanted, but this is what we have. And, they won the Super Bowl. So it's not me, giving them a pass, but it's me, recognizing the fact I used to watch this team with Jeff Smoker or Keith Null or Sam Bradford or Mark Bulger or whoever. And no matter how many games they would have where maybe not all of them, but some of them, like Bradford will play a nice game and you start to believe in the team, they'd go 7-8-1 or 6-10 or 5-11, whatever. This team just hasn't done that under Sean McVay. This is the first time, and it took a bevy of injuries to put us in this, predicament. So I will say that if you want to take anything away from this live stream, just remember that they fought hard tonight. This was not a game that they were going to win. Some people were saying in the comments they're going to lose by 60. That was not what happened. So they fought hard. They lost 26-10, but they were in it until 8:50, whatever, in the fourth quarter, down 10. They were in this game, and the future's exciting. This is a huge market. This is not a team that has to sell everybody. They have to trade everybody away. This is a team that can afford to spend a lot of money, take on the luxury tax, all that, and that's an exciting thing. That's an exciting thing because it keeps you relevant, and they got a young coach who is, I think, he's having his worst season. I think he's regressed to an extent, but I think it's a one-year thing, and I think he'll be back. And like I said, this is an opportunity that will allow them to adjust and, refocus on things that in the past maybe they let go by the wayside because they were winning. Now that they lost this year and they're not going to be in the playoffs, there's a chance they fix a lot of these things and they get back on the high side next year. We'll see. But that is going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys hopping in, chatting with me, chilling with me, all that. Again, wish it was a win. It's not. We'll have coverage. 2 podcasts, DTRs coming soon. We'll either record that on Monday or Tuesday. Believe in Rams will be Tuesday after, I rewatch the game. And, look forward to doing all that. We'll have some Call of Duty live streams where it's just Q&A and me playing games. We'll continue doing that. We'll have more details on the NFL show where we cover all 32 teams, and that'll be that. Yeah, Rangers Devils is going to be huge tomorrow night, so that'll be fun. But that's going to do it. So appreciate you guys. You can follow me at JK Bogan. You can join my Discord channel in the link below. One of the links below. I have a lot of links, so it's in the description. But join the Discord channel, to keep update. And everyone have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later, folks.